Hello, it's Nancy Juetten with the Learn More, Earn More show. Have you thought about starting and leading your own high-end mastermind? Has that been on your plan? Because if the yes is your answer, today's show is a big, big treat for you because I have a very special guest that I can't wait for you to meet. His name is Jay Fairbrother, and he's a serial entrepreneur, business coach, and mastermind guru with 30 years of experience starting, buying, and selling seven-figure businesses. His story includes losing everything after the 2010 financial crisis and rising from the shame to shine as the mastermind guy. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. And it's so funny when I first decided that I was going to lead a mastermind myself, I think the reticular activating system was at work because somehow you were showing up in my inbox and in other places, and your gentle demeanor and your credible style just really turned my head. And I thought, this is a guy that I want to learn from because there's so much hype that goes on in our industry. But when you can find teachers that can teach in a way that you can actually learn, it's it's exactly the blessing that I've been always looking for. And so I'm just really grateful that I became acquainted with your expertise at the precise time that I was doing something different in my business, because it's really paid off for me big, big time. So since you mentioned that you'd lost everything and come back from the ashes, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've gotten a lot more comfortable talking about this whole experience recently. So, as you indicated, a serial entrepreneur for 30 years, and I had built a company to 10 million in annual revenues, and it was my first company, and I sold it in 2004. And the next few years were pretty fun. I traveled extensively. I bought three other businesses. I invested in lots of different things. And around 2008, the world financial crisis began. And over the next several years, kind of like watching a toilet bowl flush slowly over a 3-year period until all the water was out of the bowl, I lost everything. So I literally went from being a multimillionaire living in a mansion to living in my friend's basement, bankrupt, broke, divorced, alone, ashamed, humiliated. I built for 15 years this identity as this really successful serial entrepreneur. And there I was with nothing, not even a car.
Wow.
And my so I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, but for 25 years I've been in masterminds. And there was a couple of masterminds in particular that I was in during that period of time when I lost everything. And I wouldn't be here today without the support of the people in those masterminds. Just, it went way beyond a basement to live in and a car to drive for a few months until I could get back on my feet. Just the ways they supported me, I can't even articulate. So that's, that's my why for why I help people do this. And to me, it's really about the human connection piece. It's being able to have that group of people that has your back and supports you and answers the phone at 11 p.m. if you've got an issue. That to me is the magic of what can happen in masterminds.
Well, and since you are such an avid fan of masterminds and they've been so powerful in helping you rebuild and grow to a new level of success, why don't we first describe what is a mastermind? How would you define it?
Yeah, so I'll start with Napoleon Hill, who's credited with coming up with the term mastermind. And it's pretty simple. You put one person with a brain in a room with another person with a brain, and you create this third invisible and intangible force that he called the mastermind. And if you imagine putting 8 to 14 people in a room, and all of those brains and the size of the invisible, intangible force that you create. So the concept with the mastermind is to tap into a group of people who have similar challenges and fears and frustrations and similar aspirations and goals, and tap into the collective experience, the collective wisdom, the collective knowledge of all of those people coming together to support each other and help each other thrive. That's the basic concept of a mastermind in its true form. There's lots of variations and things in our industry of coaches and experts and speakers and thought leaders. There, a lot of what is called a mastermind is really just glorified group coaching, where kind of people show up and pray to the altar of the guru, and there's a little bit of Q&A, and they call it a mastermind because it's sexier and they can charge more money for it.
Oh,
And so there's a difference between group coaching and masterminds. But to me, masterminds is where you really get that magic and that sort of group brain trust to tap into.
I think one of the things I've heard you say before is that when people are leading group training programs, there's this pressure to provide and prepare content leading up until the live session. And with a mastermind, the pressure can be relieved on the host because it's not so much about preparing something ahead of time. It's about responding to the issues and needs that are emerging in this moment for the fellow members. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I like talking about is this content piece. If you think of AI and ChatGPT, and most business owners at this point are using that to help develop content, and certainly it makes it easier. But think about how fast ChatGPT has come just in the last year, and fast forward 3 to 4 years from now, and it even gets more sophisticated. The question I ask to people is, in 3 to 4 years, why is anyone going to pay you for your knowledge and content and training when ChatGPT will be able to duplicate anyone's content and training and knowledge and deliver it free to just about anywhere in the world on any subject? It's already happening, and it's only going to get more sophisticated and more available. So that's, to me, the piece that the one thing that ChatGPT can never, and AI can never replace, is the human connection piece, the relationships. And so to me, that's the magic in terms of masterminds, is the relationships you build with the other people in the program, and taking the reliance off content and training, and let's support each other, let's collaborate, let's co-create, and take it to a deeper level than we get in your typical sort of training and group coaching types of programs.
I love that. And it sort of makes me think about, we do serve coaches, experts, speakers. Why is a mastermind so important for that audience in particular, beyond the human connection piece?
Yeah, well, the other relevance is scaling your business, right? So, one of the examples that I often use is that if you have a $1,500 course or a $1,500 coaching package, you need 67 clients to reach 6 figures in revenue. And anyone who's been a coach, speaker, expert for more than a minute knows that 67 takes a lot of work, effort, time, sometimes money to get 67 clients. If you can create 6 figures in revenue with 9, 10, 12 people, spending less time with having fewer, without a big list, without a fancy sales funnel, to me, it's the fastest way to scale your business into a meaningful revenue that's often recurring and consistent than it is to be, creating all of these sort of lower end programs and going that route. So it's a great way to leverage time, create recurring revenue, add, get to six figures with fewer clients. But more importantly, it's being able to wake up in the morning because the people in your mastermind programs, you're hand selecting them, you're curating that group. You have to want to work with them just as much as they want to work with you. So it puts you in the position. In fact, I just delivered one of my mastermind meetings right before this call. And it's like, I love the days that I get to meet with my mastermind because these are the people who love me and I love them. And, it's just the people I want to work with and that I want to help and that I want to change their lives and see the transformation develop. So
I love when people can get out of bed and with their both feet on the floor, be looking forward to what the day brings and know that they have created the life and the business that they had intended all along. You mentioned something about recurring revenue. Isn't there some data to suggest that folks who join a mastermind, provided they love their experience and results, are likely to renew again and again within the same group?
That's a good question. I don't know of any statistical data that I can refer to, but I can tell you my experience because I've been in many masterminds that have lasted for years. In fact, the one mastermind in particular that helped me through that difficult time, I was in it for 17 years. So pretty much the same people that got together for 17 years. The reason that happens, it's what we call creating stickiness. The reason that, you might get somebody to initially join for 6 months or 12 months, because that's a, bite-sized chunk that somebody, okay, I can commit to that. But the reason they stay in it for years is because of those relationships they've built within the group, right? I don't want to leave these relationships because it's not about just getting more content, right? It's about continuing what we've started. And it's about creating that container where people feel safe, where they can have vulnerable discussions and bring things up that they got no other place to talk to or nobody else to talk to. Because especially as entrepreneurs, there's certain things about entrepreneurship that's difficult to talk to our spouses or significant others because we don't want to worry them that, if we don't get some clients, the whole thing might come crashing down. Like that's not the dinner conversation you want to have with our family. Like that, many of them, they don't even understand why you're an entrepreneur and why you don't just get the cushy job and, why you put yourself out there. So there's all kinds of discussions that are difficult to have with people, or we have tons of people in our lives totally willing to give us their opinions to help us, so to speak, but they all have an agenda. Like our family has an agenda and they offer their opinions. Our partners have agendas. Our friends have agendas, our vendors have agendas, our coaches even have agendas, right? And the idea with a mastermind is you're putting this group of people together where the only agenda item is to help each other grow and transform. We're not trying to sell each other things. We're not trying to, we're not worried about making ourselves look good or, like one-upping each other and that kind of thing. It really is like this cohesive unit that stays together if it's put together properly.
Now, when you talk about putting it together properly and curating, I've heard you talk before about the striped purple fish and the know, love, and trust. Can you elaborate a little bit on both of those concepts?
Yeah, it's hard to elaborate on the striped purple fish without given 20 minutes for the entire story, but the striped purple fish is a story that I made up to kind of illustrate the importance of having your right fish ideal client avatar identified and marketing yourself to that person as opposed to marketing yourself to any fish in the ocean. So it while that's an important concept for every entrepreneur, it's even more important in the mastermind concept because one bad fish can spoil a mastermind group. What you don't want to ever have happen in a mastermind is your other group members thinking, why did you let that person in? They just don't seem to fit, right? So that's the curation part of it, and making sure that you're putting people together who will respect each other's time, respect each other's space, etc., who will keep confidentiality, will respect each other by showing up when they're supposed to show up on time, those kinds of things. So that's all part of kind of creating the structure and container of the program. So the Pearl Fish is a story that it's fun to tell. It's about my kids and going fishing.
Yeah, I've heard you tell that story, and I wish we had more time for you to elaborate. So if you are watching this and you ever get a chance to hear Jay talk about the striped purple fish, please take advantage of it. But you talk about know, love, and trust versus know, like, and trust, and you've even got that trademarked. So go a little deeper about the love part.
Yeah, so when we are marketing, we get people who know, like, and trust us that come into our funnel, so to speak. They, find us on social media, they subscribe to something or whatever. And the process of moving someone from know, like, and trust to know, love, and trust is getting them to, move up that ladder of how intensively they want to work with us, and before they're going to commit to anything like a mastermind or any high-end program. So part of the part of it is just how much time they spend with you, how many different places they see you in, and that kind of thing. But it's about, like, what I say is people aren't going to buy your high-end program until they love you at some level, right? It goes beyond like. And then trust is the other operative piece, because in this in our age that we live in, you talk about AI, right? Like, we have to be concerned about what's real and what's fake. What can we trust? Right? I saw a news program the other day where a reporter created, using a inexpensive online software, created an AI video of herself and sent the real video of herself and the AI video self to all her family members and asked if they could tell the difference, and they couldn't. Wow. She fooled her own family members. So this idea of trust becomes that much more important. So to me, it's about moving that needle from know, like, and trust to know, love, and trust. And in high-end programs like masterminds, you move that needle mostly with, it's old school. It's high touch, having conversations. It's not, some fancy automated marketing or funnel that people go through. It's human to human connection, right? And that's, again, why I love this process of helping people create masterminds and launch masterminds.
I totally feel your passion, and I also want to say that there are some people that may be thinking, yes, I'd like to start a mastermind, but maybe that's something I do sometime later. Maybe right now I should focus on A, B, or C. And there are other people that have been in the trenches for decades who clearly have experience where it seems like a logical choice. Can you address this whole issue of when is the right time to start and who is qualified? Because I think that would be a really important conversation to have.
Yeah, so for most people starting a thought leader, expert type business, we're taught the ascension ladder model. So you've got a free lead magnet, and then a $100 program, and a $400 program, and a $1,000 program, and then you can have your $10,000 or $20,000 program. And the work that goes into creating all those low-end programs, it's a lot, and it's hard to actually make a living with all those low-end programs unless your expertise is getting leads into your funnel. If you can get thousands of leads, then yes, you can sell. But for most of us, that's not something that we were born knowing how to do or have gifts for, and it's a lot of work. So to me, it's about needing fewer people coming into the funnel. And for me, it's counterintuitive, but I think the better route to go, I mean, obviously you need something like free and ways to attract people to you. But to me, the shorter route to move beyond like one-on-one coaching and whatever, some kind of a inexpensive course is to create that higher end program and focus on finding those right striped purple fish to put in your high end program. Because if you can do that relatively quickly, now you've got some money to reinvest in building the fancy sales funnel and building your course and building the other kinds of things that are ways that you can help people get them into moving them up that ladder. So I know, in fact, I don't know if you've had her on the show. We have a mutual friend who started with a $14,000 mastermind that was her front end product. Like she didn't have low end products, that kind of thing, and built a very successful business doing that. I know other people on the flip side who are very successful thought leaders, 7-figure thought leaders, and they had mentors telling them to go out and create a mastermind because that was the thing to do at their level. They created it because they're brilliant marketers. They sold it really well. And 3 months into it, they had lost 1/3 of their people that paid the high premium to be in it because they didn't know how to create the structure. They didn't know how to run a mastermind. They ran it like it was a group coaching program and people dropped out. So it's not rocket science, but there are a lot of nuances to creating the container, finding the right people, knowing how to create the marketing, and filling and launching these programs.
I totally agree. And something that I've heard many people say is that it takes just as much time and effort to sell a low ticket product as it does to sell a high ticket product. And you've clearly made the case that by leading a mastermind, you can get to 6 figures or greater with 9 to 15 people in a group, provided you're assembling the right kind of people to be in the group. So I want to ask you this question then. What stops people from going high ticket faster? And do you have any suggestions about how to kick any of that stuff to the curb sooner versus later?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's all about confidence. So in my 30 years of building businesses, I've built a lot of sales teams and I've done a lot of sales training. And to me, sales is mostly about confidence. It's not about skill. It's not about convincing people. It's just about having the confidence. And then when it comes to this subject, that's what we're really talking about. It's having the confidence to say, yeah, I can create a program that people will pay me $10,000 or $20,000 for. Sometimes we need to just, believe in ourselves beyond what we think we might be able to do, right? Dan Sullivan is one of my mentors. One of his books is 10x is easier than 2x. And it's the same principle that if we've got to get beyond this incremental mindset, like, okay, first I have a $500 program. Next, I can launch a $1,000 program. And then maybe I can launch a $2,000 program. And eventually just throw that mindset in the trash. Because if, let me clarify that you have to be able to provide value, right? That's a given. You can't sell it. Well, some people do. You shouldn't sell a $10,000 program if you can't provide life-changing transformation or value, either life-changing personal value or life-changing business value. So assuming you're an expert in something and can help people and you can change lives, then there's really nothing that should stop you from going out and getting paid what you're worth, getting paid what that transformation is really worth to people. And I know plenty of examples of people who charge, 20, 50, upwards of $100,000 a year in masterminds because, and they're happy to do it because they're getting that much in value for them.
So what are some of the things we need to consider, or the keys that can unlock a great mastermind for all those who are thinking that they want to create one? What are some of the keys to unlock the magic? What do they need to know? What do they need to do? What do they need to believe?
I think if you center around the idea of relationships, is what can I do to help build the relationships from the people in the program? That's really one of the main keys. If you think of it from the context of a group coaching program, like how many times, if for those listening, have you ever gone through a group coaching program, and at the end of the program, you barely met most of the people going through the program with you, right? The only relationship is one to guru, where everything is dependent on that guru, the content, right? But if you intentionally build those relationships amongst the people in your program, and you build in exercises where everyone participates in the exercise, it's not just like who wants to talk. So the introverts jump to the front, and they're the ones always asking the questions, or the jumping in, or the extroverts, and the introverts sit back, and I say there's two things you don't want in your mastermind: lurkers and narcissists. So 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 the key things are the relationships, creating that container where people feel like they can really show up as themselves. They're not being judged. Everybody's there to support each other, and we don't have to put on the masks that we typically wear in business and in life. And so everything else centers around those principles. And then the respect thing is also important. Like in some of the masterminds that I run, we have a rule that if you're late, it's a penalty. Like in one of the ones I run, it's like $25 for every 15 minutes you're late for a meeting, or if you have to leave 15 minutes early. And we have a penalty for not showing up if it's a non-emergency reason, because it's disrespectful to everybody else in the group. Part of that safe container is nobody's busier than anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're richer than anybody else or have a bigger business or a bigger bank account. While we're in this container, we're all equal, and we're all here to help and support each other, right? So when you show up late, that's disrespectful to all the rest of us that showed up, that left our important client meetings, left our fires that we have every day in business to be here and be committed to being in the mastermind and helping and supporting.
I love this setting boundaries and standards for every member, because in my years in business, I've been in business since 2001. I've been in a number of masterminds where they didn't really set the safety of the container, nor did they set the rules or the boundaries. And sometimes people will show up just to take. I have a problem. Will you please help me? And then as soon as they've gotten their solution, they hang up and go and do their work. And I'm thinking, wow, was it good for me? If the person, they just come to take, but they don't come to give. So one of the concepts that I believe is that in a mastermind, you should give as well as you receive, and make that a steady habit. Show up every time, go the extra mile for every member, because people can feel when they are been treated to the extra mile, and they can feel when they have not as well. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want those takers. And that's the great thing. I always suggest in a mastermind that there is some kind of an application process. You paint this picture of exclusivity. No, I don't let just anyone who can write a check into this group. I have to make sure you're a right fit for the group, and that you're committed, and that you understand the rules and the protocols and the culture that we're developing here. And if all that's good, then we can talk about letting you into the group. So that's another part that I love about this, is that it can shift your perspective. Instead of feeling like you're chasing clients all the time, is you become the gatekeeper. And now I'm over exaggerating here, but it's almost like, no, why don't you tell me why I should let you into my mastermind? Instead of you being like, please come into my mastermind, right?
That's a nice shift of dynamics that's, I'm sure, fairly refreshing to many of those who are going to be watching this. Now, you have a couple of goodies that you have come prepared to share with us that will allow people to learn a little bit more. You have a certain scorecard. Can you tell me about that? Tell us about what your scorecard is all about.
Yeah, so it's the Mastermind Ready Scorecard, and basically it will sort of walk you through a bunch of questions and give you a result to show you sort of, where you're already strong and certain things you would want to have in place in terms of either confidence or business building, and where you might have holes or weaknesses that, you could get some help with. So it's just a good sort of assessment to find out exactly, where you are in the process, and ask you, makes you think about some of the things that you would want to do in creating a mastermind.
That sounds like a very useful thing, a very useful tool. So if those of you are watching live or by replay, go to getknowngetpaid.com/J scorecard and take that assessment to see what you have in place and what's missing. Because if you could bridge those gaps very quickly, chances are you could be in position to start your own mastermind sooner versus later. That's getknowngetpaid.com/J scorecard. And I will put that in the show notes. You also have something else coming up, a boot camp. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is the Six Figure Masterminds Bootcamp. It's the favorite thing that I do, and it's a 3-day event.
Is it
And
virtual or in person?
it is virtual, yes. And it's perfect for someone who's not even quite sure whether this is the direction they want to go, or maybe they're not sure what they love the concept of creating a mastermind, but not sure what kind of mastermind you would create. One of my pet peeves is that people who do find one way to do something and they do it really successfully, and then they teach other people just do it the one way that I did it. To me, like, you shouldn't create my mastermind and or anyone else's, right? You need to figure out the mastermind that's perfect for you and your clients and the transformation that you want to provide. So in this 3-day event, we walk through the process of helping you figure out exactly what kind of mastermind you would create. Then we talk about how to figure out how to identify and find and attract your purple fish. And then how to build that journey from know, like, and trust to know, love, and trust. And lastly, create a plan for the next steps you would need to take in order to launch the mastermind. So one of the reasons it's my favorite event to do is because of the feedback that I have gotten, which is, that more than a few people tell me it's the best 3-day event they've ever attended. I had one person say that they felt like a different person at the end of the 3 days. So it's fun, it's transformational, and it's workshop style where we actually come in and do the work.
And it sounds very empowering too. I mean, if someone comes to this with the idea that a high ticket mastermind is the next best way for them to express their commitment to their people and to their mission and their movement, they can emerge from this boot camp with a plan in place that will allow them to bring that alive. Yes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if that's exciting to you, you're going to want to go to getknowngetpaid.com/J Bootcamp. Jbot Camp, and I'll put that in the chat too. Is there a fee to attend or participate in that?
There is a small fee. It's nominal, and it's really just to have your commitment that you're going to show up and participate. So it's more of an investment of your time, because it's 3 full days, but it goes by quickly. And again, it's not 3 full days of sitting listening to someone talk. It's, we're actually going to do the work over the weekend.
Well, I'm hoping that everyone who's watching is going to want to both benefit from the scorecard and also participate in your boot camp. And so please, if you're watching or listening, do look in the show notes so you have those links that you can click on. Jay, having had such a storied journey of great success and a dip that was pretty confronting, and building it back to this very successful business that you have built that is growing in leaps and bounds. What would you say to folks that are sitting on the fence thinking, should I start my mastermind now or should I suffer longer? What would you say?
So I think the answer to that lies in, would you like to have your pick up the phone list people, right? Would you like to have a group of people who, without agendas other than supporting each other and helping each other and growing and learning together, that in some ways can become as close as family members? Would you like to have a group of people like that and or lead a group of people like that? Because I believe as strongly in peer masterminds as I do in guru expert-led masterminds. If that concept is attractive to you, then it's at the very least it's worth exploring whether this is something you can do and how you could do it. I happen to think it's also the best way to build a thought leader, expert, coach, speaker, healer business, and really scale it and make the income that we all deserve for our expertise and leadership. But that's really it, is if the idea of that kind of community, close, exclusive community appeals to you, then I would jump in.
I agree with you 100%. I think one of the things that we've all been contending with, especially since the pandemic came to call, is this feeling of isolation and going it alone. And the idea that you can be in a close, intimate community of like minds that look after you as well as you look after them. It's so empowering and so welcome and so refreshing, especially if you've ever felt like the Lone Ranger. And I know I speak from my own experience that I've always been a very good student, and I've invested dramatically in my success over the last 20 years. And I have pursued the ascension model where there's a free item and an info product and a course and a this and a that. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that the highest value offer that you can bring forth to the marketplace is in the best interest of everyone. And I would say, just to put my own 2 cents in, don't circle the drain with low ticket offers if you can make a bigger impact for more of the right people with the appropriate priced offer that can change lives and make a big impact sooner versus later. And if that resonates, getknowngetpaid.com/J Scorecard is the opportunity to take that assessment, and getknowngetpaid.com/J Bootcamp. Part with a few dollars in 3 precious days and have your whole mindset shift about how you can go high ticket and high value and high results in close community with amazing human beings that you want to link arm with, not just for a few months, but hopefully for years at a time. Anything more you want to say, Jay?
No, that was an excellent summary. I think we leave it there. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest. It's such a pleasure to be on the journey with you. I'm so pleased and proud to have accumulated or curated my own little kettle of striped purple fish. And I look forward to doing even more of it as I become more masterful in my own leadership. I'm so honored that you would be my guest. And if you've enjoyed this show, please share it with other people and post a comment. And if you've not yet subscribed, I would welcome your subscription so you'll always be first to hear about the next expert interview on the Learn More, Earn More show. So this is Nancy Juetten, the Get Known to Get Paid mentor, signing off for now. And thank you, Jay, for being my very special guest.
Thanks, Nancy.
Let's see.